I asked my wife for a paternity test when she got pregnant due to her being too close with a friend. I totally messed up, and I know I hurt someone really important to me. I'm hoping to figure out if there's any chance I can fix this mess. Also, just a heads up, English isn't my first language. I'm originally from Russia, and I'm writing this on an account that I just made for this. I'm a 32-year-old guy, and back in 2021, I started dating this awesome woman who's 29. Our relationship was really great from the start. She's incredibly kind, always calm, and really thoughtful. We were together for over a year, and everything felt right, so we decided to take a big step and move to a new city together. We were excited to start a new chapter, made a bunch of new friends, and were building a nice life there. But then things started to get a bit tricky. Her best friend, a guy, decided he would move to our city too. Not just anywhere in the city, but literally across the street from us. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then he began dropping by almost every day. My girlfriend has always been the type to try and please everyone, and it was tough for her to set boundaries. This guy was pretty flirty and didn't really understand personal space, which made me uncomfortable. My girlfriend would gently hint that she wasn't okay with his behavior, but he'd just laugh it off and keep doing his thing. She assured me that there was nothing to worry about, that he was just like that with everybody. But I couldn't shake off my discomfort. Fast forward to 2023, and we found out she was pregnant. I was beyond happy, and so was she. It seemed like things were finally looking up. Interestingly, her friends stopped visiting as much, and after a couple of months, he moved back to his previous city. However, one of our mutual friends started dropping hints that maybe something was off. She was worried about how my girlfriend and her best friend acted around each other when we were out with friends. She found it odd that he decided to move away right when my girlfriend announced she was pregnant. She even suggested that I shouldn't sign the birth certificate until a paternity test was done. When I brought this up with my girlfriend, she was really upset. She broke up with me right away. A few weeks later, she reluctantly agreed to the paternity test, but made it clear that regardless of the results, she was done with our relationship. She felt betrayed by my doubts. Our son was born, and we went ahead with the paternity test. I just got the results yesterday, confirming he's indeed my son. The relief was immense, but so was the regret forever doubting. I've been a wreck, barely able to eat or sleep, and I couldn't even bring myself to go to work today. But throughout the pregnancy, I never stopped trying to be there for her. She pushed me away most of the time, but I wanted to support her no matter what. I had a gut feeling that he was my son, but the damage to our relationship had already been done. Now I'm stuck wondering how to move forward. I know she's incredibly hurt and probably won't take me back, but I still want to find a way to apologize properly. How can I show her I'm truly sorry? What steps should I take to at least try to make things right? I'm just lost and really need some advice on what to do now. Now for the comments before reading the update. Ex-best friend was too pushy and did not respect ex's boundaries. Probably he was in love with her. Leaves after she gets pregnant since he no longer can be with her. Mutual friend creates drama that ultimately makes you to break up mode of unknown. Your ex-girlfriend loses her best friend for whatever reason and has not cheated on you to know she can't be with you since you didn't trust her. What you can do now is properly co-parent and be supportive. Try to be a better man. She would hint that she's not comfortable and he would behave. But 5 minutes later, he starts with his usual buddy. Even as a girl, if I saw a guy do this to my friend, I would say, "Hey, didn't she say she was uncomfortable with you doing this?" The other thing that you could have done was start getting handsy with a guy friend and see how he liked it. You can't fix your romantic relationship. All you can do is focus on building the best kind of co-parenting relationship with your ex for the sake of your son. Congratulations on the little boy. Focus on being the best dad possible for him, and stop listening to your detective friends unless they have actual solid proof beyond their connecting the dots. Gut feeling. Also, she broke up with you. She's not your girlfriend, she's your ex. You hurt her deeply, and you gave up on your relationship. All you did was show her that your relationship means nothing, and that you cannot trust her. It's a slap in the face. I have many male friends. They come over often. Know what my husband does? He gets them a beer and joins in for the visit. He trusts me. We communicate like actual adults. Congratulations on your son. I hope your ex-girlfriend is okay after the birth. I hope her next boyfriend is a better man. I had a very similar scenario with my first child. And honestly, we are not together, but we are amazing co-parents. The thing is, being pregnant is scary and stressful enough, especially when it's your first child. Then you have the person who knows they are the father questioning that. It makes it even a bigger stress load. At this point, you need to be 100% open and honest. Don't try and blame the friend that told you, but straight up, tell your child's mother you let one statement from someone get to you more than it should have. I would give her space on the relationship side to show up for your kid. If mom needs a break, make sure she gets one pay child support. Just be as supportive as you can be to help the mom get time for herself, but be there for your child. Opie's at it. Edit 1. All right. Thank you all for your opinions. I knew and I know now one in a hole. I am. I know I left up, but I never said I was planning to ask her to come back to me since I know I hurt her badly and in no place to ask such a thing. I also made it clear that I had no problem with taking responsibility as a dad. I don't know why I got called names about it in the comments. I'm happily ready to do everything in my power to be the best dad to my son, and of course, financially too. Also, I did try to explain and genuinely apologize before even the test because she wouldn't listen. I'm ready and never going to stop trying to apologize to her for the hurt that I caused, and I will always be there for the mother of my child. As for now, she gave birth. I won't add up with my problem. I will be there for her until I feel like it's a good time. Then I will ask her to talk about it. Edit 2. For people asking how I brought up the test. We talked about it at home. I asked if she still thinks that her best friend behavior is okay. She said yes. Then I tried to reason with her by asking her if it were the other way around. Would it be okay for her to see another girl being that flirty and handsy with me? Then she says, "You don't have a childhood friend that I knew of." Then I went and told her, if his behavior is still okay for her, then would it be okay for me to ask for a paternity test? She said, if I don't want kids, I should have told her before, and then she has no problem to go back home another city and raise her baby alone. That's where I lost it, and said something along the lines that she's going after her best friend and asked if this was their plan. Wrong of me. I know she broke up with me instantly, and just like I mentioned in the post. A few weeks later, she called last edit. The mutual friend is married. She didn't make a move or anything, but she's an ex-friend now. For people asking what the male friend did to make me this insecure. Well, whenever they're sitting beside each other, he would keep running his hand up and down her arm, ankle, or back based on the way that she's sitting. He would compliment her body, or when she changed her hair color, he would ask her to go back to whatever color he loved to see her end. He could be really just too comfortable with his female childhood friend. But I thought he had a lease. Behave a little now that she's in a serious relationship. Also, some of you asking why I didn't talk to the guy directly. I didn't want to make her feel like a controlling freak. So I tried to communicate with her and let her handle it. The way I handled the whole situation was wrong. When I accused her for planning to go back to her city, town just to be close to him was wrong of me too. Now for the updates. Update 1. Just like some of you advised me, I decided to do my part as a dad and also take care of the mother of my child and never try to talk about anything for now. I work 8 hours a day. I go back home, take a shower, and go to her mother's house to help with the baby until 12 to 1 a.m. Then I go back home, rinse, and repeat. She's staying with her mom currently, so I try my best to do my part. Her mother has always been good to me, even when we broke up. She called me and asked if I was okay, so since she's helping with my son, I ordered dinner for them every day. I'm a bad cook and try to help around the house when my son and ex are asleep. I buy things for him and made it clear that I'm more than happy to buy whatever they asked me to because I still don't know much about the whole situation. That's all I can do for now. 3 days ago, her mother was showing me how to change his diaper properly, which I nailed it. Anyway, she went downstairs and was just me, my ex, and our baby in the room now. She said, "I'm sorry," almost like a whisper. I asked her what for, and she said nothing. I didn't want to press the issue and change the subject. 2 days ago, she was on her phone texting with someone. After a few minutes, she told her mother that the best friend visiting tomorrow to see her and the baby. Then she turned to me and asked me if I'm okay with that. I said, "Why wouldn't I be?" Then she said she just thought that I might not want him to see the baby. I told her it's her baby too. Why would that be a problem for me? Anyway, yesterday I was at work when my ex texted me, asking if I can stop by one of her favorite places and bring her a steak. I said of course. The place close to my work, and I used to buy her food on my way back home often. When I made it to her mother's house, I saw the best friend's car parked. I'm not going to lie. I really didn't want to see him. And if not for the food, I wouldn't have went in because part of me was afraid of what I might see. Well, her mother was happy to see me, but more happy than usual, if that makes any sense. My ex and her best friend were sitting beside each other on the couch. He said hi and kept scrolling on his phone. I handed her the food and went on with my routine with my son, but I couldn't help but notice how he kept his hands to himself, how he didn't throw inappropriate comments. They talked and laughed and everything, just like before, but without being handsy and flirty. I was getting ready to leave when my ex's mother said I looked tired, and could I stay for the night if I wanted to? I didn't think it would be hard for me to go back to my place in the morning to get ready for work. I can't stop thinking about what could she have meant by, "I'm sorry." Why did she ask me if I was okay with her best friend visiting? Am I trying my best to forget about what happened and focus on co-parenting and nothing else? But I can't seem to stop thinking about things. Anyway, I just felt like getting it off my chest and giving an update. Thank you to the ones that gave advice without being rude about it. Final update. The day after I posted an update, I was on my way home when I got a call from my ex's mother. She told me to not order or bring anything for dinner, and she seemed a little off. Anyway, when I made it to her mother's house, my ex was breastfeeding, so I went to help her mother set the table. Both my ex and her mother didn't talk at all, and you could feel that something wasn't right. Her mother started a conversation about fatherhood and said something along the lines of, "You're a good dad yourself. I wouldn't have dreamt of a better dad to my grandchild." My ex mumbled, "Yeah, I'll wait until he disappears before his son even turns. 1-year-old like my father did." I felt myself shaking with rage. Her mother snapped at her instantly, and I said nothing as the baby was in the same room and didn't want to wake him with raised voices. I quietly left before I even made it home. She blew up my phone with text and missed calls. She was begging me to answer her call. I did. She apologized for bringing up my father and said that she was angry at herself for everything. And instead of trying to fix things, she just made it even worse. Yes, she did. She then said that she can't say this face to face and asked if I could just listen to her without cutting her off until she finishes. She apologized about how she didn't stop her best friend from ruining our relationship, and that she now realizes how wrong the way both of them used to act. I didn't say anything. I just kept listening to her. She also mentioned that her mother made her realize how flirting and touching were too much for any man in his right mind to accept. She talked, and I listened till she got everything out and asked her the question that had been eating me up because I really needed closure to put everything behind me. I asked her if anything happened between them when we were still together. She said no, but the night that he came to see the baby, he admitted to having feelings for her, which made her realize that the way that he was handsy and flirty with her wasn't innocent. I went the next day to see my son, and I had a conversation with her mother about everything. She advised me not to let anything get into the way of my relationship with my son. I reassured her that my son's well-being was all that I cared about, and nothing can affect the way that I care about him. She also apologized for what her daughter had said and validated my feelings. Later, my ex asked if both of us could start therapy to work everything out properly for the sake of her son, so that we can co-parent the best way that we could. She looked more relaxed and herself for the first time after everything and apologized again for bringing up my father and how she hates herself for it. That's all. I don't think there will be any more updates. This is it for me. Both of us decided to do what is best for our son. For people advising me in the last post, I already went the legal route to get my legal rights to my child. I just forgot to mention it. I will delete the post of my account this week. I just wanted to let you know how things went since I already shared my problem with you. Thank you for your opinions, especially the ones that tried to see things from my perspective and tried to be kind to me. Edit, she dropped her friend. That what she said when she was talking about when he admitted to having feelings for her. Edit. If you read my post, you'd know that I apologized many times for my mistakes. I never said that I didn't make any and didn't genuinely apologize. Story 2. My wife friend-zoned me. And what's the platonic companionship? Plus, update original post. My wife, 35 female, and I, 35 male, have been married for 15 years and we've been together for 20 years. We have 2 kids, 12 and 14. We absolutely adore and work tirelessly to provide the best possible life for them. For the past 3 years, things have been somewhat bumpy. I understand that our kids are at an age where they require a ton of attention and resources with school, band, club, sports, and other extracurriculars. And I'm aware of the physical and emotional toll that can have on marriages. However, for the past 3 years, my wife and I had very little intimacy and very little sex. And we've been trying very hard to work on that aspect of our relationship. This past year has been the most difficult and by far the darkest year in our marriage. We didn't talk very much. We essentially became roommates, co-parenting our kids under the same roof. It was very depressing and very demoralizing. It was to the point where we began contemplating divorce, and it became very dark and gloomy in the household because of that. We began seeking help with both individualized therapy and couples therapy, and it seems to have helped some. Little by little, we started to get along and started to have deeper conversations about what our marriage looks like and what we would love for it to look like. This is where it gets tough. As time passed, my wife started to tell me that she no longer was in love with me and that she only saw me as a best friend, that she only loved me in a very platonic way. And this was one of the main reasons she didn't have any desire for intimacy and let alone sex. This was very shocking to me, and quite frankly, I was devastated. I was angry and depressed, and I couldn't fathom the thought that I was no longer wanted or desired by the person I felt completely in love with. Things began to deteriorate again, and not long after we were back to square one. I sat down with her one afternoon and had a heart-to-heart, and began to ask questions about where the root of this problem lies. And her answer was, I don't know, and that I have built up resentment towards you, but I don't know where it stems from. As you can imagine, this provides very little to no insight into how to approach this. I'm puzzled and I'm frustrated, and I do not know what to do at this point. Currently, we have arrived at a place where she says that she has no sex drive and no desire for intimacy or connection. She says that all she wants is simply companionship, which basically means our co-parenting roommate dynamic. I asked her what I could possibly do, or what it is about me that is so unattractive and undesirable, and her response is, I don't know. She stated that she does love me, but it's not the same that she has been feeling disconnected for years, and that her marriage just takes up too much work. Her focus is only the children for now, and that my co-parenting contributions are meaningful to her in her home. I'm at a loss, and I'm mainly venting about my frustration. It's tough to realize that the person that you love has no feelings for you. I feel like at this point I'm only here to contribute financially and as a parent. I feel like what she means with companionship is that she's comfortable with the convenience of having a good father for her kids and my financial contribution to the household in regard to intimacy or sex. She basically told me that it's not something she's interested in or wants at this time. She mentioned that the only way to get to a point for any of that is to be intoxicated, which I believe is incredibly awful and very wrong. I told her I do not think forcing herself to have sex or be intimate by drinking or smoking is good, and I declined to be part of that, which to my surprise, it upset her and made her even more distant. We're both extremely honest and transparent. We've never cheated on each other, and we were always free to look through each other's phones, emails, socials, etc. And we hardly ever do. I asked her if there was someone else, and she declined. Honestly, I believe her. We then peacefully went through each other's things, and as expected, it was clean. We've always been very forward, even with our hard topics, so I don't smell or feel any foul play or infidelity. Am I wrong for declining to only be intimate or have sex when she's intoxicated? I'm firm on my stance of not partaking in this only when I'm high or drunk sex, because it doesn't sit well with me. I do not know how to help her situation, and I'm starting to become a bit anxious and desperate. We're both fairly young and healthy individuals and good-looking. We both have good standing careers and are good parents. Not sure how our lives could have driven us to this point. I'd love some outside perspective on this matter and some insight on how to address something like this. It feels so awful to be unwanted and undesired by my own spouse. I hate it. Now for the update. I wanted to give you guys an update on how the therapy session with my wife went this week. Not sure if this is helpful or not, but I took many of the responses, comments, and suggestions for my initial post and put together some things that I wanted to discuss with her couples therapist to help us navigate some of the core issues that may be affecting this situation. One of the main things that is the buzzword of this has been the term resentment, and it's been really eating me up inside knowing my wife keeps telling me she doesn't know why she's resentful or doesn't know why this is affecting her emotionally and mentally. I brought this up with her therapist once again and resurfaced the conversation about being married for so long, 15 years, and being together since we were 14 years old. Our long history of growing up and having children when she was 19, me 20, significantly changed the trajectory of her lives. We've experienced severe poverty and many hardships in the process, and we essentially had zero social life for the past 10 years because we were so busy raising babies. 2 kids now, 12 and 14. She followed up with tons of questions directly, mostly at my wife, about her feelings towards this, and 90% of the responses were very our kids focused. It definitely felt like she was afraid of saying, yes, it sucked, because she would feel guilt or shame because it would simply imply that she regrets the kids. I mentioned this in the session, and the therapist encouraged her to look at this from the outside lens of being a mother and try to view it a bit more selfishly and individually. And it was very eye-opening. My wife mentioned that she was very frustrated with the fact that we did miss out on many things in life. She also was very clear in saying, I do not think I missed out on other partners or dating or partying, but I certainly lost all my friends. This was huge because one of the big pieces that has caused a strain in our lives is how siloed and isolated we've been. Again, busy raising kids. I followed up by reminding her that it's important to have good friends and to make time for herself and her friendships. For the past 3+ years, we've had multiple conversations about friends and how it's important to have them in life. especially when you have similar peers that can help in many areas of life that perhaps we have no experience navigating, and even simply for enjoyment. It has always been something my wife avoids, even though she's always been someone who needs that external stimuli. The main reason for her not investing in friends or even herself has always been the kids. Like I mentioned earlier in the post, 90% of the answers have been related to the kids to some degree. At this point in her session, I started to feel like there was a common denominator. The kids are most of the frustrations and problems that she was experiencing, so I simply asked her, "Do you think that you may be upset at me because I'm responsible for these kids and the sense that I got you pregnant so young I wasn't ready?" But she said that she was upset at me for that. She also followed up with the fact that she knows that that's unreasonable because it takes two to tango. I did feel like it was progress because it kind of gave us something to work on and help alleviate some of these burdens. So we agreed to invest more time in nurturing good friendships, both together and individually. Towards the end of the session, we began to discuss what actionable items we would take from the session. At this point, it was all still very ambiguous and blurry as to what the outcomes were. I was very direct and very forward in asking my wife what her plan is moving forward. Know what I decided prior to the session that should. My wife says the same thing about being a co-parenting roommate, that I would take the one area approach and essentially do me. She started basically saying that the same thing, that she doesn't have any desire to be intimate or sexual with me as of now, and that she loves me immensely and she feels bad for not being there for me. As mentioned in my first post, I also brought up the brief swinging that happened, to which for the 50th time said it wasn't a problem. I agree with her on this. This was something that was a mechanical approach for a solution to a problem that was very much in existence. When we tried this, we both really have no issue with this. We know what happened. We tried it and mutually stopped and turned the page. I also brought up other life events that may cause resentment and really ended up not getting anywhere else as far as the root for resentment, which was discouraging. I then basically expressed to my wife that I will not be okay with that arrangement. I told her that I've really done everything that I can, and that this issue really has reached a point where it has nothing to do with me or require me to do anything that I'm currently not doing. I was very direct in saying that I will not be accepting this dynamic and that I need to be with someone who is actively involved in our marriage, works towards resolutions, and is very much interested in maintaining an active intimacy and sexual relationship. I expressed how I am not going to be a convenience and that there was more to life than being roommates and co-parents. I made sure that she knows that I love her, clearly, and that I do want this to work for the better. I also told her that I'm fully committed to this marriage so long as she is as well, and that if she wasn't, it's okay. However, I will not be part of something where these efforts are not reciprocated. I told her I have no plans of leaving and I do not want a divorce. However, I made it clear that if this dynamic continues, that divorce will be the only outcome. Of course, tears were involved, and it was a very bleak and sad ending to the session. Still, nothing was said, and I walked out very discouraged and very determined to start working on the 180 as soon as we left the room. It's painful and very difficult because much of the 180 requires you to be very short and cold and transactional. The saddest part is realizing this dynamic already is very cold and transactional. Here is where it gets very interesting. I started working on implementing many of the 180 recommendations that same day. I mentioned to my wife that, hey, things are going to be a bit different moving forward. I'm going to honor her roommate co-parent dynamic without reproach, and that it should be no mistake that I'm not happy here and I'm never going to be okay with it, but I am done working on it. If she wasn't going to work on it, she agreed and went to bed. I started to build distance and started to basically focus on myself, very short and transactional. She asked for help on some of her personal things, to which I declined, and it really shocked her. She was upset, saying I was being very petulant. I explained to her that she is no longer fully in charge of her own life and her own issues. We didn't talk all day and we only spoke when necessary. Few days I keep this going and she's very visibly upset and stressed. I typically react to that with gestures of help or nurturing, but I didn't do that this time. That night she was crying, telling me she's stressed out and she thinks that something is wrong with me because I'm different. I simply listen. Then, I told her that this is the dynamic she proposed, and that I'm simply much like her, taking care of myself and focusing on myself. I'm not gonna lie. It's been very hard to be cold and distant because, as I mentioned before, I love her and I wish I could hold her and love on her. However, I know this is somewhat manipulative in a way just to get her way and still keep me in the friend zone. So I've been staying the course. We're now going down a week of this 1AD, and let's just say there has been many changes on her side. I think she's starting to realize there is more to me than just friends and co-parenting. has sent her a text a few days ago, essentially itemizing bills and separating the financial responsibilities. 5,050, and she lost her shit. She basically told me it was out and left field, to which I responded, "Hey, friends go in 50. 50, and as your friend, I expect nothing less." This was very eye-opening because it gave me a glimpse of I am really taken for granted and how her level of comfort and convenience at my expense is really overlooked. I pushed through anyway and basically told her that this is the new dynamic that she asked for and that it's still a bargain because she would still have 100% of what she was on her own. I'll wrap this up with, while the 180 has been working in many different areas, I'm still very sad about the overall situation. There have been many eye-opening statements being said in realization that have not been pleasant encounter. It's also sparked new energy and new efforts on her side as well. She's definitely seeking to talk to me more often. And while it's hard to turn down, I hope if things improve, this continues to happen. I've also noticed that she's making more time for herself. Aside from being a mom, which is huge because she pretty much neglected herself for years, I'm very pleased seeing her be more herself. My hope is that we work on ourselves. The marriage improves. There really is no telling at this point where this will go. We are very much cordial and amicable, even to this day, and that's a very good sign. Boundaries are set and expectations are very clear. And I feel that, no matter the outcome, I will be at peace with everything that has been done. We're still going to continue the couples therapist until we either rekindle our marriage or end up in divorce. I feel like having this non-biased third party really helps as a witness and as a guide through this. No matter what, I will always love my wife. However, I will not participate in a sexless intimacy. Less marriage because we both deserve better. Thank you all for the kind words and recommendations and feedback. This will be my last post on this topic, and I wish you all the best.